Hi, you've reached Tim and Gabrielle from Excel Talk. We're not able to come to the phone right now, but if you leave a message, we'll be sure to respond by playing your message on our live Excel Talk broadcast. Welcome, everyone. We are live on Thursday, May 19th, 2022. My name's Tim Rodman, and the brain of this operation, Gabrielle Mashad, right there. Gabrielle, how's it going today?
Going well, Tim. I'm embarrassed now. You don't have to give me praise like that.
I like your new microphone. Sounds good. Looks good.
Sounds better? Yes. One of my friends watched the presentation last month and said that I had to invest in a better microphone. So I hope this will sound better for him today.
And it looks like you invested in a different wall behind you. You want to tell us anything about
Well,
that?
it's actually an entirely new office that we have in Montreal. So that's the new Velixo headquarters. I'm not ready to show it to everyone yet because we have not received all the furniture we need. Supply chain issues not only affects computers and cars, but also office furniture. So that will be a few more weeks. But probably when we have the next Excel talk, I can give you a walkthrough.
Sounds good. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
And
Well, yeah, reminder there on Excel Talk, 833 Excel Talk. If you want to leave us a message with a question or something you'd like to talk about on our monthly Excel Talk broadcast. Also, if you can, chime in the chat there. If we've got anyone watching this thing live, I know a lot of people watch the recording, but chime in, let us know where you're watching from, and feel free to chime in during the discussion with any questions you have. So today we're going to talk about the new generic writeback in Velixo. And I don't know, Gabrielle, any kind of introduction you want to give to that? I know we're also going to pick up a little bit from where we left off last month with Gantt charts and kind of combine the two together. But, as a kind of an intro to Writeback, anything you could tell us at a high level?
Yeah, so the story behind Writeback goes back to the first version of Velixo. Actually, I think I will share this sample with you because this is how we expanded into Writeback, and over the years it became something bigger and bigger, and now we actually have an entirely new set of Writeback functions that we're going to be introducing in Velixo 7. People think of Excel as a tool to analyze data, display data, but you have to remember that Excel is also used to create entries or transactions that people will then feed back into another system. So whether it's updating price lists, building new budgets, or doing estimations, there are many scenarios that involve not only reading, extracting data, but also pushing data back to another system, whether that's an ERP system or a CRM. Where is that?
And what about timeline on Velixo 7? So I think what we're going to be playing around with is what you call the insider build.
Yes.
Is that right? You have two paths with Velixo. One's like what do you call the production version or official or what?
Annual channel. So that mirrors the Acumatica, not the Acumatica, the Microsoft Office release schedule, where they have this annual version, and then they have a monthly insider version that gets updated with new features more frequently. So we did the same. You have that like stable version that will be supported for a long time, and then we have regular updates that we ship into the insider version.
And so we'll be using the insider version today, but do you have a timeline on when Velixo 7 will be out? And this will be like in the annual build.
Yeah, so we have one last insider update planned for June, and then we give some time, some like cool off time. You will have the July 4th holiday, and we will be hosting a webinar mid-July where we will be launching the final version of Velixo 7. But everything that you see today is already available to insiders, with the exception of one new thing that we're going to be showing.
Cool.
Okay, share screen. This one here. And here we go, Writeback. So we had a customer come to us years ago. They were Velixo customer number 2, I believe. And the user was working on that liability assurance accrual spreadsheet. Thanks to Velixo and thanks to the integration that we had done for them in Excel, she was able to calculate the liability insurance for each and every of her branches and prepare the GL entry that she then had to enter manually or import through Excel. So that gave me the idea of adding this Writeback feature where you can just take any Excel spreadsheet, click Writeback, and push this back to Excel.
Is
Have I
it
lost
thinking?
you?
Oh no, I
Sorry.
wasn't sure if it was running. Yes, got it.
Oh no, I did not click on it. I just want
okay.
to hear your feedback. Yes. So we just started it. So you click press. Actually, I canceled it, but let's do perform Writeback.
I was replying to Bruno. It looks like
Okay.
LinkedIn is a little delayed on the broadcast, and he was wondering why.
Yeah, we have someone in Brazil today. That's fantastic. Okay, release no. 1 second, there's a missing branch mapping, so that's not the best demo, but let's redo it now for real. So let's say you want to post your accrual for November, and the rate is 2% per $1,000 of revenue. So you click perform Writeback, click OK, and this will show you the resulting entry in Acumatica. Okay, so
this
that's
part's
where we
been around
started.
for a while, and this part does not require an import scenario. Is that correct?
This part does not require an import scenario. It works
APIs or something. Okay.
Yes, correct. Yes, it works with the standard Acumatica API. So that's the basic Writeback scenario, and it's something that I would say is really helpful for Excel users. Have you encountered similar scenarios with Power BI and with other Excel projects you did, Tim?
That Writeback is needed, you mean, or the
Yeah,
journal
where you
entry
would have
specifically?
liked the ability to push data back.
Yeah, no, certainly. And one thing I'm even kind of curious how this will evolve is if you start getting into budgeting and planning processes where it's not even at a GL level yet. It's things like I want to list expected new hires this year or capital improvement projects I'm expecting to do. I actually wanted to ask you about that later. I'll hold off on that. So certainly, yeah, Writeback I think is important.
Yeah. So with the latest version, we decided to expand on Writeback and make it possible to update data from any screen in Acumatica by simply using and leveraging the import scenarios that you can set up in Acumatica. So let's say that you want to update item prices. You would be able to set up that import scenario in Acumatica and then through Excel, use the generic Writeback capability to do that. So this is again done from the Writeback section here in the toolbar. And if you already have an import scenario, you can simply click New Sheet here, pick Generic Writeback, and select the import scenario that you want to use. Just a warning, and this might be something that you encountered already, Tim. It's very slow to load the import scenarios. It's an issue in Acumatica. It's not something, unfortunately, that we have any control on at this point, but it does load, and this is only for the initial retrieval of the import scenarios.
And actually, I didn't even see that part. The way I did it is I just started typing the formula and I did Writeback arguments.
Okay.
And then I like how, maybe you could show that, how it suggests the import scenarios as you start typing.
Yes, absolutely. So
like
let's say
that.
you want to, well, let's go to Acumatica and let's find an import scenario that we could use. Acumatica ships with multiple import scenarios. So already out of the box, you have a lot of things that you can use as is. This is done mainly to simplify migrations of Acumatica, but people also use it for additional imports. So let's say we want to update prices. Let's see if we have something for, import AP vendor prices. We could do that. Okay, so let's use this Writeback. So I can go here and add my column. So we'll need a vendor ID. I will need an inventory ID. I will need, let's say, break quantity, price, and then effective date. Let's just add one line here for now. This is my vendor, and take Adobe. And if you buy 5 or more, you will be paying, let's say, $109.99, and this is effective equal today. Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'll just mention I just dropped something in the chat to a blog post that you've got out there. It's got a video showing, you mentioned item pricing, the item pricing, importing sales quotes. There's a video out there on that blog post.
Yes. Okay. So Tim, what you did is use the write-back formula directly.
And I did write back arguments because the first thing I wanted to see was, just make sure that I had all the columns that I needed.
Let's
And
try
I
it
did
here.
write back arguments.
Arguments.
Yeah,
And
do
my
the connection,
scenario.
and then right there. So where you see best match, it's super small, but no, yeah, erase that. I really like how that worked. Erase the import AP vendor just so people can see it. It's real small, but it's highlighted in bold where it says best match ACU import AP bills. But as you start typing what you're looking for, when does it do it? Maybe when you do the space.
Vendor prices.
Yeah, so that's changing on the fly as you type that. And I really like that. So I don't have to scroll through the whole list. I, just need to know part of it, and then I can see it, and then I can just erase it. So for me, at least, I like being on the keyboard, and that worked for me.
And can I share a secret tip with you, Tim?
Yeah.
Actually, it's not so secret because everyone that's watching now will know this trick. This trick, I'm sorry. You can press F2, and it will take the best match and type it for you.
Ah, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent.
Ideally, we would like to have an hyperlink on the best match, but it's more complex to implement, so we just did that F2 shortcut for now.
Maybe a little tip in there, F2 to populate or something.
Yeah, but
cool. I like that.
Exclusively for the Excel Talk audience, now you know this trick.
And then, did you put a transpose around that? I missed that.
I did not put transpose. Actually, Tim, you're right. So you have an earlier revision.
Okay.
You had to transpose it. We changed it, so now it's transposed.
Good. I like that. I think that's what most people want by default.
It's more logical. Correct. Yes. Okay, so let's do equal writeback. I need the screen ID. The screen ID is also in the import center, but it's vendor prices. Vendor prices, what is it? The screen ID, we see it right here in the URL, AP202000. And we also see it if we click Tools, the screen ID. So AP202000. The name of my import scenario. I need the name of my column. So I have vendor ID. I have
what's the curly bracket for?
Sorry?
I haven't tried these curly brackets before.
Yeah, that's an array. Price, and then effective date.
Now you could also just highlight the cells that are up above as well, right?
Yes, because the names exactly match the names in the import scenario. That's an option as well. You're right, Tim. So let's do it. Let's do it this way, and then I will change it. Something else that you may not have noticed is that we added the ability to return data. This is the output range.
So I was wondering what that was. Okay, I wasn't sure what data that would return.
Let's say you have auto-numbered projects, auto-numbered invoices. So you create the invoice, you want the number.
Okay.
So you can output that in a cell. And then my data is right here. Okay. What did I miss? Oh, yeah, I used semicolons everywhere. I'm not sure it's semicolons, whether it's comma. Let's try it. Yeah, actually, I made a mistake here. So semicolons means rows. I want columns here in between the brackets. Okay, and let's try again. Woo! Line uploaded. So now at this point, if we go to Acumatica and we check the vendor prices, we should see that new price with today's date. Okay, so let's reload. Let's look at this vendor here, comp and vir. And let's sort by date. And here we go. So that 109.99 price is there.
And I know something else too. If you go back to Excel, so I like how when you hit the drop down on the perform write back, I could decide whether I do all of them in the entire worksheet, which I think was the default when you click the button, or if,
Yes.
I might have multiple write back cells and I only want to run the one in F7. So then you can choose, I
Yes.
think it was the second option there, right? Under the drop down.
Yes. The second option is also useful if you have multiple sheets and you want to import all the selected sheets. So you could have, let's say, 3 price lists for 3 vendors, and then you highlight all of them. You do perform write back, selected
Okay.
worksheets. Same
Nice.
option.
I like that.
Yes. Okay. And to your point earlier, I did type the column names matching my import scenario, but since it's exactly the same names we have here, we could have done that as well. That would have worked.
Yeah, to me that's cleaner. I don't know why I would want different names between the two. I would just make a match. Yeah.
Well, sometime the names in the import center will be cryptic. And you
Sure,
might
good point.
want to have just vendor here or item and write it differently. So that gives you this flexibility.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's a simple example. We just insert or update one price. But since you are in Excel, that effectively gives you the ability to have formulas, calculations, and so on. So you could have dynamic price lists that are calculated based on your cost. And then you say for these vendors, you had 5%. And then you could have hundreds of lines. Okay. So you can take this and have multiple lines. And this will let you write back all the items at once. So let's add more here.
So I just started playing with this morning for the first time. And the way I ended up doing is I did one cell for the import. I like, though, how you have a separate formula for each line. That way you're going to get back the error message or whatever it is for that specific line. That makes sense.
Correct, yes. But you can definitely have one cell that writes back multiple lines.
Yeah, I was working with a table. That way I didn't have to worry about the range. I just did a table with the formula. And I guess you could probably do the same thing here, right? Because you could do a table and then have a calculated column in the table that has the write back formula in it.
Yes, you can have the calculation everywhere, either in the write back or directly in the cell. So I could say this one is this multiplied by 2. This one is this divided by 3. And this is just a random price. $10 and $50. Selected cells, write back. Oh, and now we have duplicate sales prices. But yeah, you can see the area. That's a good example. Duplicate sales prices.
Yeah, now I know which line it's on because you did it at a line level. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, for me, I was like formatting things as tables just so I don't have to worry about the ranges. And you could do, I don't know if you want to show that here, but yeah, I did try that. That totally works as well.
Yeah, but you did create your write back sheets and formulas manually. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
I would like to see what you did, but before I stop sharing and turn control back to you, I would just like to show that in the new sheet button here, you will have generic write back. And generic write back lets you create a template easily from any import scenario. So let's say you want to import AP vendor prices, which is a scenario we just used. You can click create here, and that will create a data table with all the columns, and the write back function is already filled up for you.
And that's using the table method, yeah, where you have write back and the @ symbol there. So
Yes.
It automatically gets added to any new rows in the table. Okay, I like that.
Okay, good.
Robert's got a question here.
Yes.
Is it possible to use the same Excel row to write back using multiple import scenarios, for instance?
Absolutely. We have a sample that we're working on that is an estimating spreadsheet. I'll find it while you're presenting, Tim, but we're basically creating a customer, a project, a sales quote, project task, and project estimates all in one click.
Yeah, because you could reference the row as many times as you want in any Excel formula. And since write back is just a formula, you could certainly reference it multiple times.
And it's also smart enough to not decide, but it's smart enough to do things in the right order. So for instance, you cannot create the quote before you have the customer. That's something that we handle. And the same with auto numbering. So if you have auto numbering set up for your customers, and then after creating the customer, you need that customer ID to create the invoice, you can output that using the writeback
That's the
formula.
output.
So this is the output range, correct? And this is something that will help you automate full processes a lot simpler than using import scenarios where you have to click like so many times for each file. It just makes things very, very straightforward. So
I was wondering that on the order. So like, is it going cell A1, then B1? It goes across, then down to the next row?
Left to right, top to bottom.
So as long as you put them in the right order, in this case, it'd be left to right, the one you want to happen first, then it takes the output and goes to the next column, etc.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I actually had another, that makes me think of another question I had. When you pipe things in to the Acumatica APIs, there can be licensing limitations in terms of number of transactions a month, things like that. Is the way that Velixo is writing the data into Acumatica, is it using APIs and it's subject to those limits, or is it using some other method?
I'm not an Acumatica licensing expert, unfortunately. It's gotten very, very complex since I left Acumatica. But what I can tell you is that we use the Screen API to push this data, and it basically simulates a user doing the same operations. I am fairly confident that this counts towards the limit of commercial transactions. However, the API usage is pretty lightweight, so it would not, hammer Acumatica and do so much stuff that it's impacting your licensing more than a user doing the same operations would.
Yeah, that sounds then like it's likely avoiding the API limitations, but then to your point, it still counts as a commercial transaction. You've got ERP transactions, you got commercial transactions, depending on the screen that you're going into, whether it counts as an ERP transaction or a commercial transaction. Now, before we flip over to my screen, did you want to do a Gantt chart thing as well? Or should we come back to that?
Well, yeah, we can come back. Actually, I can show you what we did. Let me open. So this is the file we worked on last month.
Wow. Robert was happy about your order, it looks like.
Yeah, okay. Let me share my screen again here. Yeah, and Robert, we will have more to share. We will be doing a webinar where we specifically present the new features in Velixo, and we will have many opportunities to discuss generic writeback. Gantt chart. As you can see, we made some progress since the last time, Tim.
This looks a lot nicer. Well done.
Yeah, well, I was sincerely hoping we would have something working during the session last month, but it quickly turned out that this would be impossible. So me and Poria from the Velixo services team have been working on this. Prior to the call today, I modified the file to work with the Acumatica sample database. So just to show you what we have now, we have this Gantt chart that loads.
Can you zoom in a little bit on this?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And let me make this smaller here, and let's have my favorite toolbar here. Good? Okay.
Yeah, this is good.
So you are looking at one project. So all the tasks for this project are loaded from Acumatica directly. Right now, all the tasks are at the same level, but we do have the ability with this template to have multiple levels. So we could introduce dependencies between the tasks and have multiple levels. So project, task, subtask, and so on. Start and end date. So this is retrieved from the Acumatica project right now. So you can see project start date or project task start date, depending on the type of line. So line 15 in bold is a project line. The other ones are tasks. So we're using a Velixo function to load that. And now you can make changes and write them back to Acumatica. So let's say that you realize this will take more work than planned and you want to change this to August 15. You can change it here. And you'll see that write back shows pending. And now I can write back either this cell or the entire workbook. And you see that the Gantt schedule is updating right away.
How did you change the value and not lose your formula?
Okay, that's a great question, Tim. We are losing the value when I do this. And as of yet, we still haven't figured out what is the right or best way to do this. cells like either contain a value or they contain a formula. So what we are leaning on right now is the concept of a template sheet that you can always copy to make changes. So you have that baseline version that will contain the formulas, and then after you make changes and write back, you need to reset to the template to be able to make changes.
Oh, so did you undo without telling us? Is that how you got
Yeah,
the
yeah,
formula?
I did undo.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. All right. I was trying to see how did that pop back in there? Okay, so you just did
yeah.
undo. Got it.
Let me see
Actually,
if I
that's
can.
a good segue to the example that I had because that's exactly the scenario I was trying to address.
Okay, but I'm curious. This is something I would love to discuss. We wrote down, and I was trying to find the note in our internal system. We discussed different ways of handling that, either through macros, to template
Mm-hmm.
sheets, multiple columns. So I think your example as yeah, you're using a data table. So in your case, I know what you
Yeah.
did. It's interesting, but here we cannot use a data table, so we had to rely on a different technique. But yeah, you can see now we have the write-back built in. And just to show you a few more features of that Gantt chart that we are really excited about, you can look at multiple projects if you want. So I can change this to star, so it's loading. Just give it a second.
I'm curious why you couldn't use a data table there. Is it because of the multiple levels?
Multiple levels, and then this Gantt chart, you'll see when I show the
Okay.
features on the right. So yeah, you can have multiple projects. You can forecast or schedule at the project and task level, or projects only. So if you have multiple projects and you don't care about the task level, you can change this. And this way you just schedule at the project level. You can change project managers too. So reassign projects and shuffle things around. And the Gantt chart itself has different views. So right now you're looking at the weekly view, but we also have a daily, monthly, and quarterly view. So depending on your planning horizon, you might want to go monthly instead. So that gives you a very different view. And in all the different displays, you have this nice widget here that lets you scroll and look at different dates. So no macros at all. This is just standard Excel with conditional formatting and creative use of formulas.
And is each cell a formula, or are you using a dynamic array in there?
There's nothing in the cells. This is just conditional
Oh, just
formatting.
conditional formatting. Good. I like
It's
that.
pretty
Yeah,
slick.
that
Yeah.
was.
I don't take
I like that.
take credit for it. This is actually a template that was built by, I think it's called Vertex 42 Gantt chart. So we are going to work with them to get a license that allows us to redistribute this to clients. Otherwise, they do sell this Gantt chart template on their website. It's very cheap. It's like $39 or something, but it's the best Gantt chart template that we found.
And this brings up a great point, I think. I actually experienced this years ago, like more than 10 years ago, working with a competitor of yours, Solver BI360. And one thing I kind of discovered from them is they would do these demos, and what would resonate with people wasn't necessarily their product features, but it was the templates that they had, right? And so I like how you're heading in the same direction, that you're building a library of templates. And yeah, it's going to have Velixo functionality built into it, but a lot of times what resonates with people is just the Excel part of it, right? Because you've done the work to go through all the examples that are out there and find one that's blessed by Velixo, and then you're going to add some Velixo functionality in there. But we've talked a little bit offline and also on Excel Talk previously about developing this kind of library that people could access. I'm working on that as part of my generic inquiry course, having a library of generic inquiries that's built into the course. And I could see how Velixo does something similar, or does something similar in the area of Excel templates. I think you already do that to some extent. We're seeing an example of it right here. And I think that's a very smart move to do.
Yeah, so what's missing at this point is simply a better integration with Acumatica. So we want to be able to do planning based on durations and not just start and end dates. Colors, so you might have tasks that are milestones instead of just being like tasks with a start and end date.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so you have colors, milestone. Let's do here. This one I might be able to flag it as a milestone here. Or maybe you only see it in the daily ones, but I did have, it showed a different symbol. Yeah. Okay. So we'll have to figure out why the milestone are not displaying, but we do have this ability as well through this template.
The color brings up a question that I also want to ask you. I don't, not specifically on this color. So, but what makes me remind me of it is you could have a custom field or an attribute maybe on the task that you write back the color into. That way, it's stored centrally. It's not just stored in the spreadsheet, right? So
Yes.
I think in that case, an attribute would work well. But
That,
another scenario that I've considered, sometimes you want to store data in Acumatica and there is no home for it. Like I've heard people who want to budget projects by month or by year. They want like a separate record for each month or each year rather than just one budget number. That's one example. Or it could be marketing data. It could be any kind of random data set. And you kind of want to use Acumatica like a data warehouse. And I've wondered if you've considered building some generic grid screens that would be like the chart of account screen. And then maybe you give people 2 dates and 10 text fields and 5 number fields. They don't have to use them all, but they could relabel them with the regular field relabeling functionality, the string relabeling. But it would give people a home to dump data in, maybe 5 to 10 screens, and it kind of shows them what's possible. And I think it could be used, especially in a budgeting process where you want to store that detail that drove the numbers centrally somewhere and make Acumatica act like a data warehouse, essentially. You
that
ever thought about that?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I think Acumatica would benefit from some sort of tool that allows you to create data entry screens more easily. You can easily add fields to existing screens, but simple tables like that, where you have
Yeah.
a table with columns that can be used inside Acumatica, but also with all the reporting solutions that they have, whether it's the built-in report designer, generic inquiries, pivots, OData, or Velixo.
So just an idea, if Acumatica doesn't do it, maybe for the Velixo customization project in the
Yeah.
future. I think it all
Maybe,
comes
yes.
down to what are those exact columns, and what are the tables, but just a
Yeah.
thought.
So show me what you built.
All right, so as you know, you showed me a trick. I'll go ahead and in case anyone else runs into this. I'm just working on my local environment, and I sent you an email this morning. Actually, I'm gonna go with this one here. Sent you an email this morning that I was getting a licensing error. So you showed me advanced, clear local cache, close Excel, reopen it, and then I wasn't getting that licensing error anymore. So point is, I wasn't able to do any of this since this morning. And so what I did, I'm just going to kind of walk through it. At first, we already talked about this. I used the writeback arguments function to get the columns. And then, as you pointed out, I had to use transpose. The latest build just returned them as columns by default. And this table here, I was just capturing what the data was so I could change it back when I was done. Then this table here was just a hard-coded values of what I wanted to update. So you can see up here, I called this table import. So just a regular table. And I like thinking in terms of tables. I like Excel because of the flexibility to do calculations on a cell by cell basis. But I like to start with tables because I don't like having to drag it over and drag it down every time I have a new record. So I did a table here. And then my first update formula, I did the writeback formula. I have an import scenario called Tim customer import. You can see the import scenario here. I'll just show you. Actually, I did it with the import by scenario screen. So if people haven't used import scenarios before, it's definitely simpler. Just start here, click plus, pick your Excel file, and then you could do it all right here. It doesn't work on every screen, but this is an easier way to do it. If it does work, this is the way to go. You get a mapping tab, and I'm just mapping my Excel fields into the Acumatica screen fields. You'll see I created a field called update. that has nothing in it. So I'll show you my Excel file. This is the data. And correct me if I'm wrong, Gabrielle, but you have to start off with some static data in Excel to create the import scenario. Is that normally how you do it?
That's how I normally do it. Yes, I will create a spreadsheet with the columns and one row of data. You can definitely
that's what
do
I
it
did here.
manually if you want, but
So I
it takes more
included
time.
one extra column update, and I'll get back to why I did that. But that's my data source for creating the import scenario. And then you can see in the import scenario screen, I did the same thing as you, one row of data. And so my data provider is this, and that's an Excel data provider. So then here's the details of the import scenario. So I had it reference instead of a range of cells like you did. And I kind of like the way you did it better. I'd probably go with an extra column here and do it row by row so I can see any error messages on a row by row basis. But the way I did it is I just referenced the whole table. So my headers, you can do table name, and then this, actually, if you just highlight it, the headers, you'll see it automatically comes up with that format.
Yeah, this is exactly what we insert if you use the new Writeback sheet. We will be referencing the headers, but keep in mind that the name of the columns need to match exactly what you have in the import scenario.
So I did that, and now I've got a pending here. So like if I were to put some data in, let's take this AA customer, open up the customer, and we'll just change maybe the first address line. Right now it's 156 10th Avenue. I'll just make it 123 Main Street. And then I don't want to run both of these. So, you already covered this, but if I click in an empty cell and I go selected cells or worksheets, there's no import formula in that cell. So I can't import anything. But if I click in this cell and do this, then it's going to run that import. So basically the same thing you did. I'm just doing it all in one cell and referencing an entire table rather than row by row. So that still works. And I can come back here and we can see that's now 123 Main Street. So then I took it a step further, still thinking in terms of tables. And I did a table that I connected to from OData. Now I first tried it. Let me cover this first. I first tried it with the Velixo GI formula, doing it as a dynamic array. But the problem is I wanted to be able to just change a value right inside the table, kind of like you did in your Gantt chart, but I don't want to lose the way to generate the table. I don't want to have to undo. So I tried doing it this way, but I realized really quickly, if I try to change a value here, and I get the spill because I have a value that's in the range of the dynamic array. That doesn't work.
Correct, yes.
So then I did the route of doing the regular Excel OData connection just by going into here. And I built an OData connection to a generic inquiry. So I created a generic inquiry. Pull that up. That just pulls the same customer data that I'm trying to import.
To avoid having two connections and two logins, could you create a data table from that GI dynamic array range? Have you tried that?
I haven't.
I think it's
Try
possible.
See if you can figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm finishing this here. So I'll just walk through my generic inquiry in case anyone wants to copy it. Nothing here, nothing here. I'm sorting by the customer ID. And then here's my fields. So that's my generic inquiry. And I'm only taking the top 10 records. And then I exposed it via OData. So I just wanted to take the top 10 instead of blasting out my list. So then I connected to it here. Here's my connection strings. If I just walk through here, I pick the Tim customer import GI. I remove, there's like an extra column I didn't care about. And then I manually added this update column that's empty. So I wind up with a table here, and this is refreshable. So I can go up to data, refresh, and this picks up the latest data out of Acumatica. So it's running down here in the background. And this is the regular Excel connection. I'm not using Velixo here. So if I go to like ABC Studios, pull that up, get rid of this stuff at the end, save it. See it right now, it says another value, but if I refresh, you can see it pulls updated data from Acumatica. There's no more another value. So my second one down here, my second writeback formula is a little more involved. So first off, my table name down here is called Tim Customer Import or Tim Customer Import GI. And so this is referencing that new table, still the same import scenario, but Tim Customer Import GI. And then I'm wrapping the table, instead of just taking the whole table, I wrapped it in filter. And filter allows me to supply the table, but then it allows me to apply a filter on the update column. And I'm only going to take records that have yes in the update column. So if I were to try to import, which one do I have open? ABC Studios. Let's say I only put a yes here on the bartending school. And I'll just say 12:42 p.m. Eastern time. I'll type that in. So it's only going to pick up this one record because that's the only one with a yes. If I try to do another value here, and we'll do click in this cell, we'll go up to selected cells. It's doing the writeback, but you'll see it only imported one line. And if I go into Acumatica to confirm that, you can see right here, this value did not change on ABC Studios. What was my other customer? It was the bartend. Here, 12:42 Eastern time. So it only changed on the row that had yes in the update. So if I wanted to update ABC Studios, right now it shows 77 West 66th Street. I need to put a yes here. Then I can click back in the cell and run the writeback again. Now it imports two lines and now writes the value. So I like this method because I can easily pick up quickly the latest data in Acumatica because someone might have come in here and changed this, right? Another value 3. I can easily come in here. First step is I click refresh data. So I pick up the fact that it's another value 3. Then I can make my changes. This should be a 4. I can select which lines to write back and then do the write back. So that's what I came up with this morning. What do you think?
I like it, and it's pretty slick. I have a question. You said something about the note text and update. One that yes end up being saved as part of the notes.
So this is like your undo trick. Yeah, I didn't talk about that. So a problem I noticed is, first of all, this update field had to exist in the import scenario, at least as far as I could tell. I couldn't figure out how to get around that. So I tried adding it to the import scenario. Let's see, what did I do here? Yeah, I tried just adding it as a field to the data provider, but it wasn't happy. I had to do something with it. So this is actually a clunky workaround. I'm writing it into the note text right here.
Okay.
Which obviously would not work in the real world. So yeah, that would be I mean, I was doing this like 5 minutes before we broadcast. So I don't know. I feel like maybe I could come up with a better workaround than that. Good catch, though.
Actually, Tim, you don't even need to have the update column as part of the import scenario. Excel lets you add new columns to the data table. You just need to make sure that the writeback only includes the columns that are part of the import scenario, and you can discard the update one.
So I don't have to build that whole thing out, but show me where I would do that. So it'd be in here in the writeback formula.
Yeah, so instead of selecting the entire headers, you would just pick the first 7 columns and
Got
same with
it.
the data range.
So I would just do this.
Yes, correct. Yes.
But then I would need a way here to only return the first.
Well, if you did it,
I guess I could do the same thing. Yeah.
or you can have the writeback formula on each line, and you do a if the update column is yes, then writeback. Otherwise, do nothing.
Good point. I think that really is the way to go. I wasn't taking that approach. I was doing tables.
Yeah, this way
Back
you
to
get
that
error handling on
error
each
messages. Yeah, I like that.
line. I found a way to load your GI function into a data table using Power Query without needing to add an additional OData connection. I'll show that if you want. So that's a simple GI that I loaded, GI demo BI customers. So you can go to data, and under get and transform data, you can click from table range. And it's smart enough to identify that you're working with an array. You can see it's called from array, and then you can load that anywhere. So I could actually have it here in a different column, but I think in an ideal situation, you would have a sheet that contains the raw data, and then you can have a different sheet with the table. And this is loaded from the spreadsheet rather than from a separate OData connection.
And the advantage here is that you only authenticate once, and I know like Velixo supports authentication methods that Power Query does not.
Yeah, like the single sign-on and the multi-factor authentication of Acumatica. And also another benefit is that you would be able to use Smart Refresh for incremental updates.
Ah, good point.
Yeah. The main drawback is that the data itself lives in a sheet. And if you have, let's say, millions of rows, that wouldn't be ideal. But on the other end, working with millions of rows in Excel is not a good idea either. I think you need to pre-aggregate this information in Acumatica before it reaches Excel.
Okay. Makes sense.
I don't know if Robert is still with us, but I did manage to pull that spreadsheet that we have to test generic writeback, which is a quotation spreadsheet. So I think this is what Robert had in mind, a scenario that lets you invoke multiple Acumatica import scenarios in one writeback call. So I have that here. Let me bring this up. So that's a simple tiling flooring estimator that we built. It's a sheet where you enter the name of the client, address, materials, labor, and there are some formulas. For instance, the prices are loaded from Acumatica based on the Acumatica pricing that you have. Calculations, we wanted to add some formulas that calculate this based on the tiling area. But this example shows multiple writebacks plus the ability to retrieve the keys from Acumatica. So if you create a project and you want to get the project ID, you can use that for the following steps. Here we have a writeback for the customer, for the project, for the sales order, for the project tasks, and the project budget. So they're all using different formulas that are in Excel. And when you do the writeback button, it goes from left to right, from top to bottom, and it creates all the different entries. Plus, at the end, you can just click View QT. So you have the quote number that was created. When you run this process, you can click View QT, and this will open Acumatica, and it will send you to the actual quotation that was just created. Actually, I think J7, there's something missing here. Well, actually, I know what it is. It's here, encode URL that was missing.
And that quote number looks static. Is that somehow, how is that getting populated by the writeback?
It's not static. So that's using the output references. Let me just see if this works. I have not used a sample in a while. So company A's order type J7. Just check what's wrong here, Tim, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Go ahead.
Uh,
Maybe that transaction is not in that environment. Wonder if that quote number exists.
I just want to see what we have here. Notepad. A screen, order type, order number. That looks good, actually. Yeah. It's working now. Oh, but the quote itself probably does not exist. I think that's why. Yeah, it was deleted. Okay, that's why. So let's try to create it again, and you'll see the result now. Hopefully, like fingers crossed, I have not tried creating it in a while. So let's just delete the quote number here.
It's okay. We like to live dangerously here on
Yes,
Excel
and
Talk.
let's try perform writeback, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, and I like your point earlier how you could highlight the sheet to just do that one sheet, but still do everything on the sheet.
Yeah. This one here. Well, let me restart Excel because right now I think I have a modal window open somewhere, and because of my multi-monitor setup, I cannot see it. So I will close all my windows. I will reopen, and we will try a second time. So that's the risk of doing dangerous things on live shows. At least we are not Microsoft, and I'm not Bill Gates demonstrating Windows 98 plug and play or Windows 95.
There have been worse demos, that's for sure.
Yes. Perform, yes. So now it's actually doing something. You can see customer, project, sales order. Project tasks. And I believe the last one will not work, but that's not a problem for what we're doing right now.
Yeah, what's going through my mind is this is spinning. Excel is really a form of middleware for a lot of companies, and you can really use this functionality to achieve that.
Okay, so you can see the result, and you have the quote number here.
So I definitely want to see how that happened, but yeah, let's
do
see
view
it
QT.
in Acumatica first.
And here's the quote that we have. Same items, same quantities, same prices. And that's a brand new quote. Okay, so you want to see what happened and how that worked.
So J7 got populated by another formula somehow.
Yes, and it's right here in this writeback. And you can see here in the output range, we do have J7. Okay, so J7
I didn't
right
know
here.
that an Excel formula could go update another formula without using a macro. That's
Me neither.
interesting.
Me neither. But we somehow like magically made it work at Velixo. So
Wow.
like, two things that you need to know. Okay, first of all, the output range here, and also when you set up the output columns, you need to have the output field here with the dollar symbol. So this will be documented because you somehow need to like tell us where you want to read this key from, because there could be order type as well, order number. So right now there's just order number. This is the internal Acumatica field name.
How come the dollar sign? I'm curious.
It means output to us.
Okay.
But we need it. It could be
interesting. And could you output multiple values, like the type, and could you do the type in one cell and the number in another cell?
Yes, we could do that. It needs to be cells that are next to each other.
Okay.
Okay. So right now we are actually. Do you want to like live on the edge and try it?
Yeah. Okay. We always live on the edge here on Excel Talk. Yeah, let's do it.
Order type. Let's do order type, comma, order number. And then instead of writing in J7, I will do M7 and M7. 7 and N7.
Okay, so they have to be next to each other because it's a range that it expects. You can't do comma, 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 which is fine.
I've not tried it, but let's see. M7, N7, perform write back. We'll just do the order now. Yeah, it worked.
Sweet. So M7's got QT, N7's got the order number. Good. I like that.
Yeah.
So then I can take, because sometimes you need both key values to go then do something with it later.
Yes, exactly. So let me get this back to the original state, and it was J7 here. Yeah, but it's all stuff we figured out while building this template. We wanted like a one-click quotation spreadsheet that invoked multiple writebacks, and once we started building it, we realized that we would need output parameters, let's say for the quote number here, and to be able to add these hyperlinks. And for the hyperlink, let me explain why we have this redirect and encode URL. I went quickly over that when I tried using it. This is because of the way Excel integrates with HTTP links and spreadsheets. There's something called WebDAV. Have you ever heard of WebDAV, Tim?
No, I just remember I've seen you mention this before, that there's something special going on with Excel hyperlinks. Yeah, but I don't know the details.
Yeah, so WebDAV is, one second, let's bring up a web page, WebDAV here. Is a set of extensions to the HTTP protocol, which allows users, agents to collaboratively alter contents directly in an HTTP web server. So basically, like it's an HTTP file share, and in the context of Office, it's something that is used with SharePoint. If you have a SharePoint server with files, you can open, edit, save, and it's using HTTP behind the scenes. So whenever Excel sees an HTTP hyperlink, it thinks that it could be a WebDAV server, and it does some queries. And unfortunately, Acumatica behaves like a WebDAV server because there is this capability built in, but the way security is set up interferes with WebDAV in Excel. So if I just do hyperlink here, straight to the Acumatica URL, let's do it. You will, in many cases, see a login prompt. Not in my case. I believe in recent versions of Excel, Microsoft changed something, but it used to prompt for a login, and it was not the Acumatica login, so that was confusing. So what we do, and this is the same trick we use for the drill down in Velixo, we redirect by using a simple HTTP page that receives a URL. So that's why I send to secure.velixo.com/redirect. And then I need to have a URL encoded link here that we just sent.
And then Velixo sends you to your site. You're not
it's very quick.
Credentials into velixo.com.
Yeah. Correct. Yes. Yeah. It's just doing HTTP through to redirect. Yes. Hey, I'm happy, Robert, that you got to see this. I can share this template. We will publish it eventually on our website, but I'm happy to share it with people that reach out to us. It uses some stuff that we recently built into Velixo. It's still a work in progress, but again, this is something that we have in the latest insider release, and we're always looking for feedback. Tim, on your side, like, can you think of scenarios where writeback from Excel will be helpful with the clients that you work with?
Yeah, I was just focused on the technical side today. Yeah, I haven't really thought about that.
Yes. So on my side, we have pricing updates, so making price changes, creating items. Let's say you have a constant stream of new product SKUs that you want to create in Acumatica. So it can be helpful to have this template where you have item code, description, price, and all the standard fields. So this way you can have an organized procedural way of creating items. You just focus on the data you need. You do that through Excel, and you use Writeback to create or update the products. Quotations, this is what we did. And the last one I would like to bring up is AP bills. We had this request from many people. We have clients that need to create a large number of AP bills in Acumatica, and the AP bills are actually quite simple. It's vendor, date, description, amount, and everything else is basically pre-populated data. If you think about it, it's a lot of clicks in Acumatica. Let's actually try it out here. I will share my screen again. And let's go to payables, bills and adjustments. You have to click plus. You have to select the vendor, enter the reference number, the description again, the amount. You have to pick the GL code, enter the tax ID, save, take off old. Oh, enter the project ID. So imagine that you have like 50 bills a day from the same vendor or partner, and they're all the same. So it's a lot of clicks. So we've had this request, and somebody actually pushed this a bit further. They said or asked us, like, how can we add a file as well? Because they have this folder with PDF invoices.
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So this is what I did on my flight to Florida last week. I said, okay, I think this is doable. Let's try it. And that's the thing I wanted to show last.
Now you're going to write back an image. Do you have a way? I wanted to, someone emailed us about this. I don't know of a way to bring an image back across OData.
There's no way to extract the image through OData.
Yeah. I didn't find a way either.
Yeah. It's
so
not.
You're going to push an image in at least. But you have to have a
storage
storage
or an invoice or
PDF. Yeah.
PDF, yes. And we do it here. So there's a special way to define this in the import scenario, but then it's just one more column that you have in your import scenario. So this sheet here, although it's already filled, I can show you how you build it. You would do new generic writeback. And then Acumatica will give you the list of scenarios. Unfortunately, this takes time. Hopefully that.
While that's loading, can you show us the import scenario that somehow translates the path to the file to the actual file?
Absolutely.
So that's logic you put in the import scenario itself, huh?
Yes.
Interesting.
That will be the next insider update. It's not there yet, but you'll see it working here.
What will be the next insider update?
June 8th or June 7th.
But what's not there right now?
Attachments.
So somehow, yeah, because the Velixo logic has to know to pass it to that dollar attachment variable. Okay, got it. Got it.
So it's dollar attachment, and then a field. It's called attachment. It could be anything.
Okay.
The reason you need to add it here is because we need to know the name of the object. You could add the attachment to the line and not the document. So that would be the same thing, but you would just change that. And then here, let's create our new writeback sheet.
So yeah, I think what you just showed right there is huge. Even for, I've seen this multiple times, folder of item images, and I don't want to drag them one at a time into Acumatica. Yes. Boom, right there.
Like exactly. Creating items. And this is all over the place in AUG forums and on the community. Like there's no way to create items and attach pictures unless you write code.
Yeah.
Okay. And right now I'm hard coding the path to the file, but you could do it in a very different way where instead of hard coding the path, it's just the name of
the item ID
or the vendor reference in this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the writeback formula, you could just do it like that. So let's type C/temp/ and
or just put the formula in the attachment column.
.pdf. Okay. So this way you don't even need to have an attachment column. Okay. So let's do the same thing here with another Invoke PDF. So let's do 23444. 23444, different amount. Let's format that. And let's push this to Acumatica. Oh, yeah, 3 parameters provided. Oh, that's because I deleted my column. So let's do it manual way. Mount and then attachment.
Yeah, we could have put the same formula in the column. That would have accomplished the same thing, right?
Form writeback. Again. Oh, ctemp. Vendor ref. So what's wrong? I think it doesn't like my formula.
So while you're figuring that out, what's going through my head is, Velixo is a SaaS product. You license it annually, if I'm correct on that.
Yes.
So if you got a lot of images, you might not even think you need Velixo for anything else. You just buy it for a year. You might end up getting hooked on it, but even if you don't, you just
You
buy it
will.
for a year, use it for your images, and you could think of it, you could use that to get the purchase done. Use that logic. Is it the other rows? No, it's an error on that
Interesting. See
row.
the error message? Oh yeah, it's the other rows. Yeah, it's validating the other ones. Yeah, that was the issue all along, I think.
What if you do just that one cell? If you just click into E6 and run just that one cell.
Yes, I'll do that. It's probably about because it saw it was non-blank and it tried to process it. So let's do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
that
can just
was it.
highlight the rows. Oh, so my whole yes idea was clunky. You just highlight the rows that you want. I didn't think
Yeah,
about that.
that's an option
Oh,
too.
that's way better.
Yes. Okay, it worked. Let's take a look at Acumatica.
Oh, that's
Tables,
totally easy.
build and adjustments. And you have the two new ones. So 23444, 23456. And you can see that we have the files here and the file here as well. So you could
Nice.
default a lot of data. And the good thing is that this is something that the average Excel user can master and build.
Was this your announcement, your secret announcement?
Yes, file attachments.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hey, one last question, Tim. Write back to core Acumatica screens and an ISV screen. One Excel sheet for all. Exactly. Yes. If it's an ISV screen, as long as it's built using the Acumatica framework, you will be able to build an import scenario, and this will work nicely with generic Writeback. And Robert, if you are comfortable, I would be happy to show the result of your scenario. If you're going to build something, I would love to show this live. Or actually, if you simply have questions while you build it, Excel-related question, make sure to call 1-833-EXCEL-TALK, 1-833-EXCEL-TALK. It's a toll-free number. It even works from any phone booth if you can find one.
You could send us screenshots as well. We could play that if you
Yes.
don't want to jump on live. Yeah.
It's
cool
funny,
too.
Tim, speaking of phone booths, so kids nowadays are not used to picking up a regular phone. They just text or they use a smartphone. But I showed my son that he could go to any phone booth. Like we still have some on the streets or in shopping centers, and you can call toll-free numbers without having to put a quarter. So I'm having him call Velixo this way, and he was very, very excited when he noticed that you could actually like look at the letters on the numbers to
That's
call a
cool.
number by name. Yeah.
The old stuff always comes back in style, right?
Yes.
Actually, since we're already over, do you mind? I just thought of an example. You're asking for examples. How are you on time?
I'm good on time. Well, actually, yeah. Well, yes, I'm good on time.
Another 5-10 minutes or
Yes.
so?
Yeah, 5 minutes, and then I think actually need to wrap up. I'm needed for a meeting. But yeah, you can show your example, Tim.
Give me a second. I need to
Yes.
find it real quick. This is an example from many years ago. This is a previous company that I worked at. We had large projects with complicated material requirements on each one of the projects. So I actually presented this at an Excel user group meeting. So I think it's okay if I show this live as well. This data is probably over 10 years old at this point. I can't hear you. I think you got to add yourself back in. There you
I
are.
have to drop off, Tim, so I will let you finish the talk.
All right. You can
and I'll
watch the
watch
end of the
recording.
video.
Yes.
Show an example. You can let me know what you think.
See you.
Catch
Cheers.
you later. See ya. All right. So this was an Excel file, and I used a lot of VBA to do this. Our ERP system was Sage Mass 500. That's why you see update Mass 500. And basically what you would do is you'd pick a project, and this was dynamically populated. We brought data into this validation tab, just using, I think it was a ODBC connection. I mean, this is old stuff here. And like it was a SQL database. So, and then it populated the grid with all the stuff for that project. And the way we did it was we did all of our demand on sales orders. So all of our material demand went in on sales orders. Then, you see all the information here, what quantities are still open, the unit of measure, warehouse, etc. And people wanted to be able to quickly change this stuff on the fly. So we gave them this ability to just double click in this update field. This is why I was taking this approach, but I like Gabrielle's approach to just highlight the row better. So we use some VBA to just double click in here. It populates yes. And then when you run update Mass 500, it would only update the specific lines that had a yes in it. So it was a way to interact with the spreadsheet and write the data back. It was clunky the way I had to do it. I mean, there's a SQL stored procedure involved. There's a lot of VBA code. But the end result was really popular because one thing that I didn't think of was just the colors. So if I click up here, and I think I have to unfreeze the panes to see it. But I sat in meetings where, kid you not, I mean, this was like a half an hour to an hour long meeting just talking about colors because the colors became very meaningful to people. And then you just use conditional formatting for different colors to mean different things. And people would put this spreadsheet up on the monitor in a meeting, and they'd be able to have a discussion about the project and make changes right there on the fly without having to take notes on it. So it was just everyone's working in an Excel file, and it was very, very popular. And it helped manage the project demand a lot better than it was being done before. So what I'm thinking right now is how I could have used Velixo for this. It would have worked much better. You wouldn't have this clunky thing. You wouldn't have, you just highlight the rows that you want to update. I wouldn't have any VBA code in here because it could handle all this with the writeback functions. But, here's just an example of an end result of something, that was very useful in the real world that I know would definitely be a good candidate for Writeback. So this was project demand handled on sales orders at this company. And then we even put extra information over here. You see, there's a lot of information. It's telling you the supply that's coming in, you see how old this is, when the PO is expected to be received, the buyer you need to talk to, the vendor, what's been received. I mean, all sorts of information, shipping information. If we did like a partial shipment on something, lots and lots of, who created it in case it was a mistake, you need to go slap someone's wrist. A lot of information in here. So it's just Excel. And I think the real popularity of it was that it's in Excel. I mean, even simple things like the way you can navigate cells, you hold down control and press down, you go all the way to the bottom, hold down control, press up. Navigating Excel grid, I don't even have to touch my mouse. I jump to the next non-empty space. Just real easy to move around, real easy to apply filters. We did use VBA for these like shortcut filters. So if you click these, it would apply a filter. These are some of the most popular filters. We could change the sort order as well. These are VBA buttons up here. So you might still need VBA for that, but the complicated connecting to the ERP, doing the read, doing the write, looks like you could just do that with the Velixo formulas now. So that'd be a much cleaner way to handle this. All right, that's all I've got. Gabrielle, let me know what you think. Anyone else, let us know what you think. 833 Excel Talk, and we will catch you again next month. Until then, have a great rest of your day and take care.